For the formal part of the program tonight, we have Jeremy Biffis. Biffis, yes. Jeremy's currently a technical manager at TripAdvisor, leading an amazing team of passionate software engineers on the world's largest travel site. They create tools for restaurant owners to build their brand, both on TripAdvisor and across the web, driving travelers from all over the world to dine with them. Sorry about that. They have a great office in the Byward Market and lay claim to being the only TripAdvisor office here in Canada. Jeremy loves finding creative and fun ways to keep his team happy and delivering far above the sum of their parts. Outside of the office, you'll find him playing hockey on one of the great outdoor rinks across the city, honing his guitar jams around a campfire, or getting his hands dirty on his Jeep or other projects around the house. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. All right, thank you for having a non-product person up here to talk to you guys. I'm excited about that. So just before I get started here, I just wanted to get a sense of if anybody has heard of the term OKRs, or objectives and key results, and who's familiar with them, and if you've worked with them before, either in your current place or a previous job before. So not a whole lot. Okay. What I'd like to do is in this talk is I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we're doing at TripAdvisor with objectives and key results. Not so much on what it is as a whole and why you should be using it, because it's not fit for everybody. If you're interested, but then by all means, check it out online, learn more about it. But I'm going to talk more about what we're doing at TripAdvisor and see, if you can connect with that and if it makes sense for you guys. So. Objectives and key results. They are a framework that allows you to set goals within your organization. It can work with your company as a large company if you've got multiple teams. If you're a smaller company and you're just trying to figure out what the best things are for you to do to move forward. It's really focused on two things: the objectives and the key results. So the objectives are what it is that you want to achieve. Where do you want your company, your product, your widget, where do you want it to be at the end of the year, in 2 years, or whatever time period you're looking to set these goals for? The key results is how you get there, the steps along the way, or the metrics that you want to drive up to get to that point. So going into a little more detail here, the objective, again, is what it is that you want to do. These need to be concrete, significant, and action-oriented. It should be easy to tell when something has been completed. Somebody outside of your team should be able to look at what you've accomplished and be able to say, yes, you met that objective. They should be something hard to get, but achievable. You always want to be trying to push yourselves with these objectives a little bit so that you're doing more than you would normally just do without these goals in place. Whatever your objective is, it has to deliver value. There's got to be a reason for doing it. It has to pass the so-called so what test. So you did this. What does that mean for your customers? What does it mean for your users? What does it mean for your organization? And most important, concise and easy to understand. If you have complicated objectives where you need to reference footnotes to define what it is that you're trying to do, it's probably the wrong objective. And you probably want to spend some more time simplifying that a little bit. Now, your key results are how it is that you're going to go about meeting that objective. These must be measurable and reportable. If you're trying to do something that you think is important, if you can't measure it, then you're wasting your time. These can be milestones along the way to completing that objective. Achieving all of the key results that you have for that specific objective, they should complete that objective. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do every single one of them to meet your objective. If you can do it, just getting 2 or 3 of them done, then that's successful. You don't need to, they don't necessarily all need to be done. And one of the other important things is they need to be time-bound. Some sort of a time limit on your OKRs. So I have an example here of something that we've done on our team here. And the objective is increase customers' perceived value of premium to add X amount of dollars in revenue. That's one of the objectives that we've had on our team. And our key results that we were measuring ourselves by, one of them was to build and ship 2 new features by a specific date. A second one was improving the conversion rate through our checkout flow by a certain percentage. Reduce our churn, so customers canceling, again, by another percentage. Oop, that's too far. And we decided that we hypothesized that by accomplishing these key results, that we would achieve our objective. So OKRs are nice because they work at multiple levels within your organization. This is a sample one for our team in particular. I'll give you an example of something that works for the whole team, like the whole restaurants team as a whole, would be to create a suite of products for restaurant owners to build their business and expand their business on TripAdvisor. And some of the key results for that would be, create 2 new products, by a certain date. Another one could be, have a certain number of products per customer, have that number go from, say, 1 to 2 on average. It also works at an individual level. So if you're a software engineer or if you're a product manager or whatever in between, you can align your personal goals to the organization as a whole. So something you could say is, as an engineer, I want to become more in tune with the business needs and our customers' needs. And some of your key results could be, listen in on a customer call once a month. Things along those lines. So I'm going to go into how we use this at TripAdvisor, in particular the restaurants team. We have, I think, about 6 or 7 teams that are following the OKR process within restaurants. We're distributed across, there's a couple of teams here in Ottawa and teams at our headquarters in Boston. And the way that we do it is on a quarterly basis. So every quarter, the teams will get together, work with engineers within the team, product managers, tech managers, with key stakeholders like sales and marketing, to come up with what we think are the most important things that we can work on in that particular quarter. So I'll take you through kind of the journey here. And this is directly out of our OKR playbook for, I think it was Q1, so it starts in December-ish. And the first step is our management team gets together and they'll set out the OKRs for the entire year as a whole for the restaurants team. From there, the individual teams will go off and formulate what our quarterly objectives are going to look like. And again, that's taking in input from everybody from like sales, marketing, customer service, other people within the management team, engineers, on the individual teams themselves. And it's a really collaborative process where we're trying to figure out what's most important that we can do, and how do we define that. So it's really good getting everybody in the same room and focused on the most important things. From there, we will brainstorm project ideas. So, and these are just one-liner items at this point. They're just ideas. So for instance, start sharing your restaurant's five-star reviews on different platforms. It's an idea. It's something. We've got, increase the number of reviews that customers are making through iOS. Just an idea. We have all of these ideas that we come up with during our brainstorming. And we'll whittle that down to a list of, depending on the size of the team, maybe a dozen or half a dozen one-pagers. These are short documents that get written up, just highlighting the business value, how it meets our OKRs, roughly how long we think it's going to take, just at a high level. So those get written up during one-pager writing, and this was over the holidays, it looks like. We size them from a technical point of view. We also size them from a design point of view, like how, it might be a short engineering project, but if it's going to take a designer 8 weeks to do it, that's a huge amount of resourcing that we might have available with all the other projects that we're working on. So we put all of that together, and we will propose our finalized plan to other teams within restaurants, working with the other stakeholders, again with marketing, with shared objectives. You have to make sure that we're bringing in the key stakeholders at the right time. And at the end of this, we're presenting this as a cohesive plan to the management team and to each other. So that's kind of how we're using it to keep all of our teams aligned on what matters to the organization. Some of the advantages that we have is that in using this for us is that we're finding we're much, much more effective as engineering teams. We are able to stay focused on what matters. We're not spending as much time looking at things ad hoc, bringing in projects ad hoc that aren't directly aligned with our objectives. It allows us to say no to things that aren't part of the plan. And that's a hard thing to do when you've got managers above you or executives above you who are saying, no, I think that this is the most important. But at the end of the day, we set up this framework so that this is what's important now. If there's other things that are important in the next quarter, then we address it during that planning period for it. So in the same way that a sprint has a certain number of story points that you're able to accomplish in a sprint, you're kind of scaling this up to a quarter or to a year or some a set amount of time where whatever is coming out of that is a result of how much time you have, and you can't just keep adding things into it and expect everything to come out at the other end. So I have a minute or two here for questions, I think. Yeah, so I'll just open it up for a couple of questions. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, I was wondering, does the team brainstorm on the objectives or on the key results to meet the objectives, or both?
Both. Yeah. Yeah, so we want to make sure that everybody on the team is aligned on the objectives. And then once we figure out at a high level what it is that we want to do, then we're diving in, how can we get there? What are the stops that we have to make along the way? Or what are things that we can do to get there? Yeah. Over there. I can hear you.
Does your whole organization do this, or you've probably told this, but I didn't catch it. Does your whole organization do this from the top to the bottom, or is it just you and your team?
So this is within the restaurants business unit, like within restaurants group at TripAdvisor that we're using it. So there's a number of other, there's like hotels, flights. There's a lot of different parts to the company, and so this is what we're using within the restaurants group. And like I mentioned, we have about 6 teams working on various products within restaurants.
Okay, thanks a lot.
No problem.
Hi. My question is related to does it change with respect to the changes that we get? Like, for example, we just created OKRs for the next quarter or something? So how frequently it changes, or and how does it impact?
Yeah. So what we do is we have within the team itself, like our product team, we do a 3-month period. So OKRs for a quarter. You can also have OKRs. So like at the restaurants level as a whole, we have OKRs that span the entire year. But it's arbitrary. You can have it for whatever time period you makes sense for your organization. Yeah.
I don't know if you were there long enough, but were you using a different system before, and was there a fault with the previous system that this corrects?
Yeah, so previously, a number of years, the restaurants business unit started up as kind of a startup within TripAdvisor about 4 years ago, just as a test to see, like, could we create a product that restaurant owners would find useful on TripAdvisor, and it worked. And so that initial group was a handful of people, and they grew a little bit, and planning was really just getting everybody in the same room. Whoever had the loudest voice was usually the one who got their projects done. And so there wasn't really a framework for everybody to have a voice at the table. And so putting in a framework like this, especially as we started adding more and more products and having different teams, we really needed something to keep everybody aligned, not just on a team level, but on an organizational level. Thank you. Oh, one more.
Okay, so what's the biggest trap you can fall into, or you've fallen into while living and working by OKRs? Warn us so we learn from your mistakes. Thanks.
I think the hardest part of it is, avoiding the seagull effect, where somebody swoops in and drops a project on you, and being able to say, no, like, that doesn't fit into our plans, or maybe it does fit into our plans. How could it fit into our plans? Yeah, that's probably the hardest thing, and I think that's not, it's certainly not unique to this framework. It happens across everything. Okay.
Thank you, Jeremy.